This is the Real Estate Fun Game for Leasing and Property Management 1. Here are your instructions. For each question, the answer will appear. You provide the question, just like in that very famous TV game show. You'll get 3 seconds to come up with the answer. Keep track of right and wrong, just so you can measure progress. Run this fun game as many times as it takes until you're ready for prime time. Are you ready? Question 1. A lease is a contract which conveys the right to do this with real property. What is use or occupy? Question 2. In addition to written, a valid lease can be this. What is oral? Note, leases of greater than 1 year must be written. Question 3. An oral lease of 1 year or less is valid, but also this. What is enforceable? Oral leases of over 1 year are valid but not enforceable. Question 4. An oral lease for more than 1 year is valid but this. What is valid but not enforceable? Question 5. When real property is leased, the landlord is called this. What is the lessor? Question 6. The tenant, when real property is leased, is called this. What is the lessee? Question 7. According to the Georgia real estate license law, a leasehold interest in property is considered to be this kind of property. What is real? Note, for the national portion of the exam, a rental is considered personal property. Question 8. On the national portion of the licensing exam, a leasehold interest is considered to be this type of property. What is personal? In Georgia, a lease is considered to be real property. Question 9. The difference between gross and net leases is seen from the point of view of this party. Who is the landlord? Question 10. In this type of lease, the tenant pays a fixed monthly rent, and the landlord pays all expenses such as taxes, insurance, and maintenance out of this rent. What is a gross lease? Question 11. In this type of lease, the tenant pays a fixed monthly rent and also pays some of his or her own expenses, such as taxes, insurance, and maintenance. What is a net lease? Question 12. In this type of lease, the rent is paid by the tenant and includes a percentage of the gross sales of the business. What is a percentage lease? This type of lease is normally used in shopping centers. Question 13. In this type of lease, the tenant pays a fixed rent for initial period, but the rent increases automatically by preset amounts. What is a graduated lease? Question 14. This type of lease is used to attract a tenant during slow market conditions or when clientele has not been well established. What is a graduated lease? A graduated lease is also called this type of lease. What is a step-up lease? Question 16. A type of lease which contains a provision for future rent increases based on general increase in operating costs is called this. What is an index? Question 17. Provisions for increases in rent with an index lease are contained in the contract in this type of clause. What is an escalation clause? Question 18. This type of lease commonly used for long-term commercial leases is called this. What is an index lease? Question 19. A lease involving property which is sublet is called this kind of lease. What is a sandwich lease? Question 20. In a sandwich lease, the sandwiched party is this person. Who is the original lessee or the original tenant? Question 21. The amount of rent a tenant must pay the landlord under the terms of their lease contract is this type of rent. What is the contract rent? Question 22. The amount of rent that could be obtained for a property on the open market if it were available is called this. What is the economic rent? Question 23. Of the economic and market rent, this one is typically the higher. What is the economic rent? Question 24. The party or parties that must be named in a valid lease. What is both the lessee and the lessor? Question 25. This is the party that must sign a valid written lease. What is the lessor only? Question 26. In addition to the starting date, this is required in a valid lease. What is the ending date or duration? Question 27. Of the lessee's signature, the provision for rent payment, mutual agreement to convey, and the description of the property, the one that is not required in a valid lease. What is the lessee's signature? Question 28. In a valid lease, it is a requirement to include this. What is the property description? Question 29. In a valid lease, the use of the address in the property description is this. What is unacceptable? That's it for Leasing and Property Management 1. Click on some of our other tests as a fun, fast way to learn your real estate terminology.